Hello. So just to let you know what's going on in the physical room, is it okay, Eric?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
We can all, everybody can hear your voice, so just be aware.
Sure. We've got 3 participants in the physical room, and the Frame VR screen is projected on the room large screen here. And hopefully, yeah, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to curate that. Yes, people, by the way, just to explain to those of you who kindly joined this forum, we're doing it in a WebVR space called Frame VR, and our presenters are there already. We are streaming it on Zoom and at the same time also projecting it on the screen here. So if you have any questions later, you can come up here and speak through the mic on my device here. So that would be great. Thank you for joining us.
Everybody can hear in the room, I suppose?
Yes, we're on the room speaker, so.
Beautiful. Thank you for help setting that up, Minasa.
Oh, no worries. Another lady here helped with that. One of the pink shirt ladies.
All right, we're counting down. I'm going to start off in about 1 minute, everybody. 1 minute to start.
Would it be better for me to move closer to the screen when people are talking? Maybe this gives a better view. Okay. Hey. Yes.
Is that live?
Yes, it is live. People are already. I am on this space too, by the way. So there are 9 people. If you'd like me to show you the list of participants, like you see on Zoom, for example, the same thing pretty much here. So Amany, Adam, Rob, another Adam, one more Adam. What's going on? I think Adam is on 2 devices. Nick, Eric, Yukie, and myself, Merasa, on top. So we're the ones present in this space now. And if I wanted to show you around, we're in a lecture hall, a virtual lecture hall, with the people I just named represented as avatars, as you see here. And we will be doing our presentation. I mean, I'm not presenting, but our presenters will be doing theirs within this space. But at the same time, we're able to hear that in the physical room as well. It was hard to figure out which people would be joining. Otherwise, we would have sent you an invite. You need to be invited through by providing your email address in advance. But we're happy that you can hopefully ask your questions here, or just come here and through this device do that later. Okay.
So, sorry, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So you said I would need to send my email address to get invited. Can
Yes.
that happen, like, real time right now if I wanted to join? I don't want to join, but I mean,
okay. Yes, it could. It could. Eric, I think, is the owner of this room. He could invite you if you wanted to, but I'm not sure how busy he is at the moment.
No, it's fine. I
Okay.
just wondering about
Sure. Sure.
do it in advance.
Minasa, if
It doesn't have to be in
I
advance.
can do
It
that
can
if
be.
somebody wants to send me. We'd like to get started though too, if it's all right. I'll make those announcements right now. That's all right. Is all right? Everybody ready to get started? Is that all right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, everybody, welcome to MAVR Research Forum 2022. as a part of JALT National Conference held in Fukuoka, Japan. This is the MAVR SIG Forum. We have our MAVR SIGs. My name is Eric. I'm the coordinator for our SIG. We have a great lineup for you today. I'm going to be hosting and moderating this great session of speakers and a roundtable discussion towards the end. First, I'd like to give you a couple of announcements and some logistics so we can enjoy and get the most out of our session and time today. First of all, MAVR, Mixed Augmented and Virtual Realities in Learning, is a special interest research group based in Japan. We have probably a small but very active group. We are probably, if not the smallest, one of the smallest SIGs in the JALT organization, but we have a very active membership. I would probably guess that our publication to membership ratio might be the highest also in the JALT organization. As we go through and talk today, we just let you know the process from which we are providing our talks today. We're all here in virtual reality. I'll show you what that looks like here. I'm being projected onto the screen from my home studio here in Kyoto. We have some live participants in Fukuoka on the venue site for JALT National. And there are some people in the room, and we have some MAVR officers in the room that will help curate your questions as you're in the room as well. We're also broadcasting on YouTube Live, as well as some other channels. So there are some people that will possibly give some questions or comments on those public live streams as well. If you have a question during the presentation, we're going to have three presenters over the course of today. They're going to go about 20 minutes each. We're going to ask you to hold your questions or type your questions into your relative chat, either on Zoom, or hold them if you're in the physical room, or you can put them into the YouTube Live comments as well. And we're going to help curate those questions at the end for a roundtable open discussion for about 20 minutes after each speaker has presented. You can also visit and see all of the slides from our presenters today. You see their bios and information at mavr.site, and you can join our social media conversations from here forward just by using the hashtag MAVR. We're pretty active on most social media platforms, probably most active on Facebook. My name's Eric. I'm based in Kyoto. I'm helping to coordinate for our research group, and I'll be doing my best to host and moderate today's proceedings. Our MAVR team has been working hard to put this all together. Mirasa, Bobby, Josh, Adam, and myself are the officers, and we hope that if you're watching this today and you're a MAVR member or thinking of becoming a MAVR member, we encourage you to reach out to us to join the more active group or the officer corps of MAVR so you can take more of an active role in our organization. So these are some of the names that helped facilitate and bring everything together for today. And we've been doing some things that I'd like to share with you. Namely, we just put out a journal thanks to Robert Figueroa. We call him Bobby. He is our chair of publication, and he helped do quite a bit of editing on our journal that came out last month. There's a couple of research articles and news in newsletter form about MAVR presentations, projects, development apps, and things that our membership is doing. So please go on to mavr.site and take a look at that journal if you should want to take a look at some of the research things that we're doing. I also like to congratulate Robert Figueroa, for winning the Best of JALT award from the MAVR SIG. He has been a member since the beginning, forming this SIG about 6 years ago. And he has been key, especially last year and this year, in our activities around trying to more internationalize our group. He returned back to the Philippines, and we've been working on a bunch of things together on either research and other things like that. Coming up, if this kind of event interests you, we have some other things coming up around the corner. here in Kyoto, we are building an immersive lab and also a sister lab at the University of the Philippines, where Bobby is running a new lab there. And we're spinning up a bunch of new physical spaces to use augmented and virtual reality in different learning contexts. And so we're going to be trying to put together a smaller symposium early next year. And PanSig is one thing that MAVRs, pretty much we always do a forum there every year as well. And this year it is in Kyoto, where I'm based. So we're hoping, we haven't quite planned out everything quite yet. We're hoping to actually liaison with Nick that's here in the room. He's actually going to be probably key in our plannings for that moving forward as well. So these are things coming around the corner. If you should be interested in joining our upcoming events coming soon. Okay. Are there any other questions before we get started? All right, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to share the slides like this. All right, I'm going to now ask each of our presenters to come up one by one and give their talks. I'm very excited about our lineup today. We have a bunch of new faces. Because we have a fairly small group with MAVR, we often end up presenting to each other, quite honestly, a lot, and we're very familiar with each other's work and projects. So this is very exciting for a lot of us MAVRs because we're getting to see some fresh ideas and some new faces with today's presentations. Let me first introduce our first speaker then. Amany Alkhayat from Columbia University, PhD candidate. She's at the Teachers College there. We met through iLearn, which is another immersive learning research group. She's going to be presenting activities and communities in XR research. And so you can see there's a theme around this. We're trying to build communities. One of the reasons we're doing the forum in this way is we want to help synergize and collaborate members and people doing research in this space. So we want to help facilitate you guys supporting each other in our endeavors. And so I asked some of our speakers to talk about not only what they're doing as far as their projects, but also the communities that they're involved in to help create more networking opportunities for all of us in this space. All right, so without further ado, I'd like please to welcome Amany up to the stage area to give her presentation.
Thank you so much, Eric, and thanks everybody for having me. It's really a great honor to be here among MAVR Research Forum, and I'm so excited to talk about the projects, and I hope I can talk about all of them. And so I think I can move the slides from here. So my journey started from 3D virtual worlds to social VR platforms and also VR like Learning Unity and stuff like that. And so the first encounter with VR was Second Life in 2009 when I made my first avatar, and then I fell in love with another thing. It's not a social VR platform or it's a 3D programming language, which actually it's not that well known like Scratch that's by MIT University, but it's called Storytelling Alice. And Storytelling Alice, it's a block-based programming language that's easy for kids and for high school students and middle school students to understand the programming. And so I was teaching my second language learners, and we had this youngster summer club, and they learned it really fast, and they started to create their animations. And I felt like I published a research paper on teaching speech acts. So I compared the traditional method of teaching speech acts like agreeing, disagreeing, and stuff like that, versus doing that in a 3D environment where the kids create animations. And so fast forward, when I came to America, I realized that I was a member of New York State TESOL, and we had like great special interest groups, but we didn't have one that specialized in technology. And so I asked the president and everybody, the executive board, that we need to have, and that was before the pandemic. I had activities prior to that, but I'm just trying to focus on projects that relate to like North America. And so we started I founded and chaired the Technology Enhanced Language Learning Special Interest Group, and that was before the pandemic. And I was really excited, and we're going to do VR, we're going to do artificial intelligence. But we found out that teachers were not that motivated. And it's kind of, I forgot that I'm an instructional designer as well, and I should understand the user needs and user personas. So we kind of stopped, paused for a while until the pandemic erupted, and everything, all the dreams became true. So we partnered with educators in VR, and they're really I'm always indebted to them, because they supported us in this new special interest group, and they provided us with all the workshops that we wanted. And then I became later one of their co-leaders. And the following year, in 2021, we started the Virtual Conference. So, and the Virtual Conference was all about technology, VR, AR, artificial intelligence, all emerging technologies that would prepare teachers. And we realized that teachers' reluctance to use technology, it's because of assumptions. Usually teachers would say, no, I'm not a tech person. And then when the pandemic erupted, everybody had to be, tech savvy in a way. And then they appreciated the way, and they actually, those teachers used to say, well, no, we're not tech savvy. They started, and they were so proud of themselves using technology and pedagogy at the same time. And I'm saying integrating pedagogy at the same time. One of the well-known activities in the it's North America and Europe and also Asia. We have many attendees from everywhere. Is the TESOL International Electronic Village online, and I was honored to be part of that project, especially with great people like Heike Philp, Doris Molero, Helena Galani, Randall Sadler. He's the president of Calico, and others. And we started with immersive storytelling in terms of so actually these great people, they usually do like immersive training in Second Life and Open Sim. But we because I'm always passionate about VR. They also introduced AltSpace VR, Frame VR, Spatial, and also Engage VR. And also the following year we did the immersive building, and this year I can't see, but this year we're gonna do immersive learning experiences in the metaverse, and this is gonna start January 9th, 2023. So usually these workshops are like 5 weeks, and it's kind of tinkering with technology, and towards the end, teachers create their own immersive experiences, kind of like competition. But these workshops are kind of like how to design, and more of discussions and tinkering with technology. And so it was really a great experience working with EVO, the Electronic Village online, where we train teachers from across the globe. Like usually we have like over 100 teachers signing up for these workshops. Yeah. The second one is called Jigsaw Island. It was a finalist for Gamicon. It's a conference usually held in Texas, and the Jigsaw Island is like it's a game, or it's a gamified experience in Frame VR, and it's based on computer supported collaborative learning techniques, which is like the jigsaw activity, and it's more of a escape room game. So level 1 is an escape room game where learners, which are teachers, so those are who are the teachers, they are kind of like they are in this island and they can't escape, and they have to go through. So they have to. So Frame VR allows only 15 people to interact with objects, and so this pirate is going to give them instructions, because the pirates have kidnapped these people in terms of the story, and then they can't go inside, the pirates, and the learners have to go. So that's why it's called jigsaw. And the 5 learners should go through each door, and then they will have to learn about how to teach in VR from adult learning theories perspective. So this game was designed to teach teachers the theories that they need to learn about in order to design and have informed decisions about designing for learning, and how to understand how students learn. And the second level is they will set free, and they will go to the second level, and because of the jigsaw activity they will be regrouped, and then they will design their own activities based on a certain instructions. So as I said before, and I mentioned educators in VR, we have the V languages team, which is a team that's concerned with virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, and language learning. So educators in VR, I think it was founded in 2018, and they have lots and lots of special interest groups, and the V languages team is one of them. And I was honored to co-lead the team with Katrina Semenyuk, and also we have usually one of the co-founder, Laurel Van Fossen. Usually she accompanies us with most of the workshops. And what's interesting about these meetups is that we meet with teachers, as you can see in the slide, and we discussed how we can teach in VR. And there are actually worlds that were built by educators in VR, and one of the co-leaders who left us, Michael McDonald. So he built several worlds in AltSpace VR, and these worlds, many of them are interactive. I think all of them are interactive, and so you can have like the kitchen, a place for the mechanic, a car parts. This area also we can talk about memories of childhood, and so this has been a great opportunity to understand how to teach in VR and to understand teachers' perspectives. So sometimes we held, like every month, we have a world tour in which we showcase worlds that have been built for language learning. Imagine taking your students to several places that probably they may not have or were able to see and interact with these objects in VR, and probably tell stories that probably relate to their prior experience and stuff like that. The next slide is actually a research paper that will be submitted soon. It's a study that I conducted, and I love Henrik Ibsen and his novel A Doll's House, and it has a lot of things, a lot of metaphors and symbolism that relate to inequality, gender inequality, and my students were really affected. So I had like control group and experimental group, and it's really interesting. I'm not gonna talk much about it because it's really what they wrote really affected me personally. especially the students who were in VR. And this will be published as, hopefully, if I get accepted, as a research paper, versus the students who watched only the video and learned about. So really, really, some people talk about VR and say it's the empathy machine, which is really, I think it is. Language Cities is a project. It's a game for language learners in VR, and it's like it's based on lots of theories and hypotheses like Krashen's hypothesis, culturally relevant pedagogy, and we hope that it will be up and running soon, probably next year. So it's kind of a dream. It's like combining virtual reality and conversational design in a way that would motivate students to learn more. And if you would like to know more about it, you can just type languagecities.com and you can just fill a form, and we can contact you and tell you more about this game. Yeah, I can't see the slides, so I'm gonna just open mine. Yeah, so currently I'm working on a project. So actually, my dissertation is not on VR. It's actually on conversational AI applications like GPT-3, Pandora Bot, and how this can motivate students to learn and improve their language learning. And since that I've seen a few apps in VR, I'm kind of I started working on some of these projects that would engage students in VR and see whether they will be engaged with a virtual assistant, and which with certain character or not, and what type of character would um, would make the students motivated. So some of the research that I've done before, like pilot projects, I realized that students prefer a character that's different from Siri or Alexa, and so it's really interesting to find like to create an environment in VR and have like an avatar that's not human, but that can communicate with students, and then kind of like encourage them to talk more and help them with vocabulary and grammar. Um, there are lots of projects that I'm working on. So I am currently the social events committee chair at the iLearn conference. That's the Immersive Learning Research Network, and we started the Metaverse Adventures, which is it's like podcast, and also we record. We have a video also, and we kind of like invite educators who create VR experiences for education, and we're trying to explore what works in VR and what type of learning experiences encourage students and make them learn better. And so this started last year, and we were successful in interviewing. Like we've interviewed 5 people so far, Web3 and VR experts, and we're looking forward to introduce more people. So we started that in the conference last May, and we're working on doing more projects to involve educators at the Immersive Learning Research Network. And I really invite you all to apply for the conference, because it's really great, and the papers are published in accepted papers are published in IEEE, and also there's an awesome thing that they really do, which is the practitioner track. And the practitioner track is not it's like practical ideas, which is really great for educators to read. One of the projects that I'm currently working on, it's a programming project, which is Beautiful Mind. And this project was actually one of the things that really influenced me, because when we started the project, my team they started with a storyboard, and then I said, well, from an instructional design perspective, you have to interview people first before um, before like starting the design. And I'm always honored and feel lucky that I work with great people. And so the beautiful mind is for adults with ADHD, and each one of us is programming a scene in Unity. And we have been helped by an instructor, because this is part of a course, but also it's kind of a passion, that we visited the neurodivergent events in Old Space VR. They told us lots of great stories, and according to their stories, we actually developed the application. 6 Power Steps is an application that I helped design. It's a VR app that I helped design for research, and it was funded by a Saudi university. And I like it was like myself and an American friend and professors from this university. So it's kind of collaboration between North America and Saudi Arabia. And 6 Power Steps is an application that helps students, especially that was during the pandemic, and it helps students overcome anxiety, PTSD, and all of the symptoms that many people have gone through during the pandemic. I think now it's my time. It's 12:09 a.m. So I think, yeah, I should stop here. So thank you so much for listening and for attending my talk. And I'm so honored to be here today. And this is my LinkedIn barcode, and also this is my Twitter. And if we would like to know anything about any of the projects that I mentioned, I would be happy to connect with you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
All right, everyone, let's give Amany a great round of applause there. We can hear you in the room there giving an applause too. There is so much to unpack with this. We can already tell that Amany, like a lot of us in MAVR, we have connections with so many other organizations all around the world. So just a couple that were mentioned were Educators in VR, the Immersive Learning Network, Language Village, I think, was another one that was mentioned. And she's got a ton of projects.
Electronic Village.
Electronic Village, yes, thank you. Electronic Village. And tons of projects. And just speaking from experience, she's very open to collaborating. So if any of these projects, like the Jigsaw Island or Dollhouse or Beautiful Mind, 6 Power Steps, and there was a couple of them there, I couldn't catch them all, but please reach out to her if you want to find out more and to just get connected with her. So let's give her one last round of applause when we move on to the next person. All right. If you have questions specifically for Amany, please hold them to the end. We're going to try to get through all of our presenters before we have our discussion at the end here. Next presenter, I'd like to welcome up Nicholas J. Wilson from AtoZ Corporation Public Education Department. He is, I know, fairly active in JALT. He's going to be working with Pan SIG for next year. He's fairly new to MAVR, so I can't, we haven't spent a lot of time personally together, so I can't tell any stories about him, but I have seen some of his work. He's been doing some stuff with gamified multiplayer worlds. I think Together Town was something that he's been experimenting with as well. So today's presentation, he's going to give us Overcoming the Distance, Students Collaborating in the Metaverse. And we're very happy to have Nick with us today. All right.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks.
Thank you. And yes, I'm the new guy in MAVR, so there's still lots we can talk about from now on. Yes, so basically my topic, the title is very important. It's about overcoming the distance and students collaborating in the metaverse. So when we talk about the metaverse, especially lately, there's been a lot of talks and problems and the boom, whether it's something that can be useful in the future or whatever. And the main difference, probably in my case, is I don't work with the university students. I teach at elementary and junior high schools. So my main research is basically trying to figure out how we can use these virtual realities to connect students, young learners. In my case in particular, we basically, what I was trying to focus more is not COVID. So because of Corona, of course, even schools had to close down. We had to rely more and more on apps like Zoom, like Google Meet, and so on. And as I was working with the students in this kind of environments, what I noticed it was that basically we were basically teaching the opposite of what we've been trying to achieve in the classroom. Especially with young learners now, it's all about student-centered learning. It's all about having students work together in groups, collaborate, kind of like have more input from them and less teaching talking time. However, when we started using Zoom and apps like Meet,
Slides are not
basically,
up.
It's appearing on my.
basically, what happened was that we were having a lot of like teacher talking time, and the students were just basically sitting there on mute. And so basically the entire opposite of what the classroom is. And so seeing that, looking at that situation, I started thinking, how can we kind of like change this situation? And of course, Zoom has breakout rooms, but simply putting students inside breakout rooms wasn't really changing anything. Basically, they were just like sitting there, uh, basically idling, just everybody with their cameras off, their mics off, and so on. So that really wasn't changing anything. So basically, I started looking into the concept of metaverse. And if you can move to slide number 4, page 4, next one. Yes. So basically, the situation is this is not university. We're talking about public schools. So if we have to implement something new, the first thing, it has to be something that you can realistically use in a classroom. We don't have budgets, we don't have research funds or anything like that. So the whatever has to be tested needs to be easily uh, implemented, and also as hopefully uh, not expensive, or kind of like just with a very low budget. Uh, One more thing, thanks to the Giga School project, all students now have their own devices, either Chromebooks or iPads. But the biggest challenge here is that those devices have really low specs. So it's not like you can set up very specific 3D applications or anything like that. Otherwise, they'll just freeze. And one more other thing, there has to be a clear goal when you implement this. So what were we trying to achieve? What was the main goal? What is the purpose of introducing the metaverse in the classroom? Let's go, if you can go to page 5. The biggest challenge, as I was saying, was that students were really not interacting with each other. Simply being like squares or rectangles inside an app, as the standard video conference apps, wasn't really bringing anything to the conversation. However, one of the main features of a metaverse environment is that users interact with each other through avatars. By using avatars, basically, and this is something that we actually had the feedback from the students after doing a couple of test runs at the end of last year, was that students basically said it feels very natural, especially when you consider that they have spatial audio and video. It means that the students really walk to each other and they can start chatting, discussing. So by simply adding that kind of movement already made the difference for the students. One more thing was that uh, another problem was with the black screens, right? So everybody just keeping their cameras off. And I mean, this is also happening in university. There are different reasons why students don't want to show, don't want to turn on their cameras, also because of privacy or whatever with their rooms and so on. Some might also be shy and don't want to kind of still have that kind of kind of like, I wouldn't say anxiety, but kind of. So by using avatars, it still feels like they're talking to somebody. And these avatars, depending on the platform, I'm not this time I'm not gonna go specifically into which kind of apps I've been testing, but depending on the platform, it also allows for pretty specific, pretty detailed personalization, colors and kind of like clothes and so on. And that's also a kind of self-expression. It's a way for students also to kind of like give a representation of themselves that they couldn't achieve even in the real world. Also, classroom dynamics. By having people actually moving inside this digital world, even the teachers have a different point of view. It's not just the teacher talking all the time, but they can see the students that they can start giving very specific directions, like, hey, go sit at a desk or move to this corner. Kind of like the same kind of indications that they would be giving in a classroom. And last thing that the students really pointed out is freedom. Of course, when you're using apps like standard video conferencing apps, you're basically just being pushed around between the main room or the breakout room. Instead, here they have the freedom to misbehave, let's say. They have the freedom to reach out to move to other groups. They have the freedom to talk immediately just one to one with either the teacher or another classmate. And that kind of element is probably one of the biggest points that students really noticed compared to standard video conferencing apps. Let's go, if you can move to slide 6. So as I said, there has to be a clear goal. For us, when I tried to set up this in my schools, my goal was to try and not only get back that kind of like student-centered environment that was lost using standard apps, but also try to find new ways, even having the students in the classroom, but to collaborate with other people as well. So what I set up, thanks to also the company I work for, that has connections with numerous board of educations in Nagano Prefecture, was that for the first time we had the opportunity of connecting classrooms, not just simply like video conferences, like, hey, this is a screen, just talk to each other like that, but giving the students the opportunity of working in groups effectively with peers that they've never met before. And if you ask, then what is the purpose of doing so? Well, if you look at society as things are moving right now, more and more, even in the life after COVID, we're relying less on actually moving between locations. Now we have the technology to have meetings with people. Even this, what's happening now, this event, right? We're connected from different locations, but we're all together in this room working together. And so now, thanks to these kind of apps for the metaverse, we can also achieve the same thing in a classroom. So even having students physically in the classroom, but working together from different schools, you're now opening the opportunity for students to foster new collaborative skills with people they've never really met face to face. And so basically, it's not just about online teaching, but it's also about kind of like fostering that different kind of approach to collaboration. Also, giving students the opportunity to work with people they've never met before. So even interpersonal skills. So there's so much happening now in this kind of environment. And most of all, we're also opening the opportunity for schools, especially in my area in Nagano Prefecture. We have many schools that are so far apart, even like 20, 30 kilometers from like the near city. And those students, many of these schools, they're just like 6 students in a classroom or even 3 students in the classroom. So how can we expect them to actually like move into a world where connected with hundreds of people if their learning environment was so restricted? So now using this kind of technology, we're also connecting very small schools with bigger schools and giving the opportunity to these kids to actually work together with a bigger number of students. Moving with slide 7, another really important thing about these environments is how they allow for embedding apps, in particular with the Google applications, forms, sheets, docs, slides, even learning apps like Quizlet can easily be integrated inside these metaverse platforms. And by doing so, we're really putting the students into a situation where they're using apps that can be also used in any kind of work environment. Moving to 8, slide 8. One of the biggest challenges. So talking especially with teachers, because it's them kind of like, if it's me, I kind of like played around. I've been pretty active with this kind of research is one thing. But for teachers, it always says, well, it looks easy for the students since they're pretty fast at picking up things, but teachers might find this a little bit complicated to implement in the classroom. And it depends a lot on the options. Currently, there are many options, as Eric mentioned before. Like GatherTown is one of those, but there are even easier, more gentle learning, not learning, but kind of like environment, metaverse apps like WonderMe, which has recently updated a lot of their features and offers. So depending on what kind of like skills you have also as a teacher, it's not what I'm trying to kind of like put the focus here is many see the metaverse as something that it's too far, it's too too distant from what they've been raised with. But there are now many applications, many opportunities to implement this kind of technology pretty easily. So one of the main goals of my research right now is trying to point out how teachers, even working with young learners, can start playing around, implementing, testing this new technology in public schools with really low effort. And if you go to page 10, as you can see, there are many of these apps also offer pre-made or request-based templates. So you have very easy, they give you some questions. How many students are going to use the space? What's the purpose of the space? What kind of activities are you going to run inside this room? And based on those questions, the system will automatically create a suitable environment. So they don't really need to know, teachers don't really need to know how to do everything from zero. There's also, depending on what kind of, what their goal is, there are different design approaches and different mechanics. For example, what we're using now is a 3D environment. So it might work better with people working with technology and science. if you're looking more for kind of like doing online tours and so on. But if your goal is to simply foster students' communicative skills, then probably kind of like a top-down view, two-dimensional environment might work better. But in any case, all of these apps, especially now because of the boom of the metaverse, there are many active online communities teachers can reach out to. The MAVR SIG is one of them. So there's more and more people teachers can rely on if they want to try something like this. Going to slide 10 and going almost closing my presentation. My goal from now on is basically try to figure out ways to connect more and more remote areas in Japan. Try to kind of like make this a little bit more systematic. Create a community where teachers can connect to, and where we can also not only create collaborative projects between schools inside Japan, but also create international exchange projects. So considering this is a synchronous environment, we're probably looking at like Australia or Singapore, China, that kind of countries, the Philippines too. But it's also one way of putting the students in a situation of working not only with peers from the same country with the same mentality, but also working with people that have a different approach to learning and also different ideas. And one more thing, which is also the most important, is also try to collaborate and exchange the data we're collecting from these lessons with the people that are creating these platforms, especially because many of these platforms that I've been working with, they're geared towards distant working. So it's all about creating the office environments, whereas there's so much potential these apps have when applied to the educational environment. And what they need from us is basically information and data. So by doing more presentations, but also more publications, hopefully things might change also on that side. And that's all from me. If you go to slide 11, you can reach out to me through my Twitter account, although Twitter is in a bit of a chaos these days, or you can also reach out to me through my email address. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. A big welcome to all of our presenters today, presenting for the first time in front of MAVR SIG. So much good stuff happening here as well. Nick's been doing a bunch of stuff with Jolt, and I can see he's bringing a lot of kind of motivations and passion to his projects with a lot of the things he's doing. Yeah, and he mentioned a practical approach, which a lot of us in MAVR share. And a couple of things that resonated. I know there's a bunch of people in MAVR doing stuff and are wanting to do stuff around international collaboration with our students. For example, Bobby and I are working on creating some kind of collective, some consortium of learning labs around the world to use immersive education. Mirasa and I working together on a project called My Hometown, where we're teaching students all around the world to make VR tours of their hometowns for international exchange and cultural exchange as well. So I think there's a lot of possibilities, not only with Nick, but with all of our presenters today to synergize their efforts. So let's give one more thanks to Nick, and we'll bring up our next presenter. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Okay. Again, if you have questions, please put them into the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, you can put them into the Zoom chat, and we'll have also people in the room. Keep your questions in mind, and we'll curate them for a discussion at the end. All right. Now let's bring up our final presenter. We've been wanting to get Yukie to present to us in MAVR for, I don't know, a couple of years now. She's been really active doing some stuff around VR and language learning. She teaches at Chuo University, and I see that she's also got some contacts with the Meta people that are in Japan. So she was, I think, presented at the Metaverse conference that Meta put on last month as well. And she's going to be giving a talk today, Projects and Possibilities Using VR for English Education. She's been doing some wonderful stuff focusing on language education, and so a lot of people in JOLT will appreciate the specific use of VR for mostly, I think, English language learning. So Yukie, Professor Yukie Saito, thanks very much. You have the floor. Welcome.
Okay, so thank you very much for the great introduction, Ricky. I feel very honored to be here as a presenter, and I have been learning a lot from other presenters too. And I feel very excited to start my presentation. So as Eric mentioned it, so I'm Yukie Saito. I have been working for Chuo University, and today I'd like to talk about the virtual reality project and possibilities of using VR for English education. So you can see the image where my students are wearing head-mount displays, and in the center you can see the virtual scene, and I really like this image very much. And as you can see, so I have been working for like a VR software company called Immersive, because so Immersive is very great for learning English and teaching English. And so I will talk about the Immersive in more detail. So the next, in the next presentation. So, and so please turn to like page 2. Okay. And so I'd like to talk about the outline of today's talk. And so first, so my profile and activities at ITR, and I will explain about what the ITR stands for. And so far, I have conducted 3 VR projects in the past, and I will talk about the 3 virtual reality project. And also, I have been doing another like a project, and I will talk about it. And also, I would like to talk about future direction as a wrap-up for my presentation. So page 3. So could you take a look at page 3 on my slide? Okay, page 3 on my slide. Okay. So So as I mentioned, I have been working for Chuo University. And I work for the faculty called Global Informatics. So students have been learning information technology and laws related to information technology, such as kind of ethical issues using like artificial intelligence. So it's a new department, and so ITL stands for Information Technology and Law, and Ichigaya Tamachi Link, because this department is located near Ichigaya Station. Okay, so next slide, page 4. Okay, page 4. And so let me talk about my profile and activities at ITR. So I got a master's MA in TESOL from Columbia University, Teachers College of Columbia University. I got a PhD in education from Temple University. And so I have been doing lots of things at our department. So my one of the role is like a coordinator of study abroad programs at ITR. And also I'm in charge of a seminar which focuses on edtech and English education and English learning. And I have been doing lots of projects with my students who are in my seminar. And I'm also coordinator of an integrated English course for freshmen. As Eric kindly introduced about it, so I got a support from Metaverse XR program and the research fund program, because as you know, so Facebook changed its name from Facebook to Meta last year, and they say that they would like to focus on XR, like Metaverse, and so they really wanted to focus on promote, or support researchers who are involved in XR research. So luckily, I was able to get support from Metaverse. And I have been like a strategic advisor of Immersive, so as I mentioned, which is like a VR, like a platform for language learning. And page 4, okay, so turn to page 4, like expected effects of using VR for English education. Now, I would like to talk about some expected effects of using virtual reality for English education. So actually, nowadays, there are lots of studies which says some benefits of using virtual reality for English education, such as lowering foreign language anxiety using avatars, impact on long-term memory retention. So they can. It's often said that a student can kind of retain vocabulary better. In virtual scenes, because they can kind of they can have clear images of virtual reality scenes, which might be helpful for students to remember vocabulary. So effective vocabulary acquisition in virtual context, improvement motivation, increased learners' engagement, and active participation in virtual scenes. And also VR may lower foreign language anxiety, and it might lead to improvement of speaking. These are like a kind of expected effects of using virtual reality for English education. And from slide 6, on slide 6. So on the slide 6, I kind of summarized like the past VR project. As I mentioned, I have been using Immersive for all of the project. And so characteristics of Immersive is that the student can choose their own avatars, and there are lots of scenes teachers can choose, such as an airport or a fast food restaurant, or like a customs, or like or maybe just like a supermarket and so on. So it's difficult to realize like a context in an EFL environment like in Japan, but by using like a scenes of Immersive, so we can create meaningful context where students can learn English in a more meaningful way. I conducted as I mentioned, I have conducted 3 projects so far. VR English lessons by native English speakers to students in Saito seminar. And so following that, VR collaborative project, students as teachers and learners. And finally, VR pre-lessons before online study abroad program. And so briefly, I would like to talk about each project. So as I mentioned in the first project, my student in my seminar took immersive English lesson by native English speakers. I collected the following data such as TOEIC speaking as a pre-test and post-test, and questionnaire about foreign language anxiety as a post-questionnaire. As a pre-questionnaire and a post-questionnaire. Student also wrote a journal. Student also wrote a journal with can-do about VR scenes. And so now I would like to, page 8, could you turn to page 8? Okay, so now I would like to talk about kind of the result of the first project. English lessons by native English speakers to students in Saito's seminar. So I would like to share the summary of the result. So according to a pre and post questionnaire, students were able to lower foreign language anxiety, increase confidence in speaking English. So the number of participants were 5. And they took a pre and post TOEIC speaking test. Among the 8 students, 5 students were able to increase the scores of TOEIC speaking test. And so okay, you can see my student comment. So I had as if I had a fun as if I was a kid again. Like I could speak more easily because each member's face is avatar. So it seems so avatar's effect was huge. So student felt so less stressed out because of Japanese student tend to be afraid of making a mistake and they are not confident. But so the use of avatar was helpful. So that's so in the second comment. So as you can see in the second comment, so the use of avatar seems to be very helpful. So I wrote a paper. So so you can see my paper, cortisol proceedings. Okay, so yes, so on page 8, you can see the comments on page 8, English lessons by native English speakers to students in Saito's seminar. So you can see the comments in the gray boxes. There are 3 comments, as you can see. On page 9, so could you turn to page 9? So VR collaborative project. Okay, so page 9. And so as I mentioned it in the second project, the students worked as teachers and learners. So in the first project, my seminar student experienced in VR English lessons as learners, and I asked them to create their own lessons. So, and in that project, so 4-year students who experienced VR lesson as learners, so implemented English lessons using VR, and they taught English using the same virtual reality platform. Okay, and 4-year student planned VR English lessons, and 4-year student taught English to 8 second-year students. And they made a presentation about the project at the department, and they wrote us and submitted a collaborative report. Okay, so now, so would you turn to page 10? Okay, could you turn to page 10? So, so the second project is based on like the revised Bloom's taxonomy. So I wanted them to kind of use like higher order thinking skills in addition to lower order thinking skills. So for example, so as you can see in the middle, so as for like lower order thinking skills, so they remembered what they learned in the VR lesson. They also understand the pros and cons of the VR lessons by remembering the lessons they took as students. And so they applied what they learned as English learners using VR and planning to maximize the pros and minimize the cons of VR lesson. And they also created their own virtual reality lessons. And they conducted, so they offered English lesson to the second-year student. They also analyze, evaluate their own lessons. So now, please turn to page 11. So this is a scene where students are learning how to make English lessons using Immersive platform. So they had a chance to learn English lessons from the teacher of Immersive. So as you can see on page 11. Okay, on page 11. Okay, then, so could you turn to page 12? Okay. So on page 12, so you can see real scenes of virtual reality. So on the left side, this is like a custom. Okay, on the right side, so you can see like a fast food restaurant. Actually, so I really like Immersive very much because the student can interact with other students as avatars. They can also interact with objects in virtual reality scenes. So, cashiers, I mean, so you can see the cash, and cash register can be used, and student can drinks using a remote control, and they can eat hamburgers using remote controls. That's why in virtual scenes of Immersive, students can interact with other participants, also with objects in those scenes. As a final kind of a project, I would like to talk about the last one. So page 13, page 13. And so VR pre-lessons before online study abroad program. So I'm a coordinator of study abroad programs at ITL, and I was supposed to send my student to Silicon Valley, but I couldn't do that because of COVID-19. But so it was offered online. It was an elective program. There were 13 participants. So as a training, they listened to lectures from IT companies in Japan, such as Meta, Google, Microsoft, and so on. And following that, so I offered virtual reality English lessons, including discussion, debate, presentation, using the same platform. And after that, there was a main program. And on page 14, so could you take a look at on page 14? On page 14, you can see the contents of the virtual VR English lessons, like a self-introduction and discussion, debate, and presentation. So I included like a debate topic or discussion topic, which are related to information technology, because they had a chance to listen to the lectures from business people or Meta, like Microsoft and Google and so on. So they talked about such as they talked about topics such as, do you think virtual reality will be popular? And so on page 15, so on the next slide, you can see the image of virtual reality scene, where a student making a debate. So I divided them into two groups. So maybe I should move to, so on page 17, on page 17, pre-lesson before online study abroad program, summary of the result. Take a look at page 17, pre-lessons before online study abroad program, summary of the result. Actually, I couldn't do any, so kind of positive result. However, so students were able to have positive opinion about the VR and the public speaking lesson. So I wrote a paper about it, so, and you can find my paper called TESOL Proceeding 2020. And on page 18, I talk about the current project and the future direction. I would like to wrap up my presentation. So please take a look at page 18. So page 18, next slide. Next slide. Current VR project and the future direction. Can you see it now? Page 18. Current VR project and future direction. So in my English lessons, the students have been also learning English using like a Google Cupboard, because the head-mount displays are still expensive. They have been using Google Cupboard, and they have been learning SDGs, watching 360s videos related to SDGs. And also students now teaching English to young learners using Immersive, so PC version. And so they have been doing a VR exploration project by students. They have been exploring spatial, edge space, engaged door, and so on. And I'm hoping to do a telecollaboration in virtual reality using Immersive, VR chat, and other VR platforms. So, I should stop finishing my presentation. So thank you very much for listening to my talk. Thank you. Sorry, maybe I was not able to like show my slides on time. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yukie. Lots of cool stuff, lots of collaboration, and we see that there are already some common themes, some common threads, ideas, and projects, even from our three presenters today. I think that there might be some deeper opportunities for just the speakers alone to collaborate on some of the things that they're doing, because there are some themes that came out, and hopefully we'll get into those in our discussion time coming up right about now. Before we get into discussion, I'd like to invite everybody that's in VR to the stage, please, if you're around. I'm gonna, so we can see who's talking, and I'm gonna take a couple of snapshots of everybody that's in VR for our records. Maybe put it up on the website. So get in front of that screen there. There you go.
Is that okay?
Face you or should we face the screen?
Face Eric.
Face me. Yes,
Yes.
face me.
Is that okay? Is my position all right?
You're looking great. I think everybody's looking good.
Okay.
All right. I'm
Okay,
gonna take
wonderful.
a shot here. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I got it. Beautiful.
Did I have my eyes closed?
It's possible. These avatars do blink from time to time, so maybe I should take another one. I don't know.
Adam, would you like to come up to the front too? Yes, please.
Is Adam here still?
Yes, I can see him. Yes. All right. I think we're ready for another shot.
Just one moment here.
Sure.
Group, just going to save that one so I can just get us another one. All right. Beautiful. All right.
Wacky?
Here we go. Let's see here. 3, 2, 1. Woohoo! All right. I'm going
Yay.
to
Thank
capture this
you.
one more time. Let's see here. 3, 2, 1. All right. So I got myself into that last one. All right, cool.
Perfect.
Beautiful. All right. If you guys want to stay where you are, everybody can turn on your mics right now if you'd like. If you don't have to, of course, but I'm going to invite anybody to either raise your hand or turn on your mic and let us know if you have a question. First, I'd like to ask Merasa if there are any questions in the Zoom chat or questions in the
Let's see.
physical room, so we can address those
Okay.
first.
Beginning with the physical room, we have one attendee here with us. Thank you. Yes,
Rich. My name is Rich.
Rich.
Nice to meet you.
Great meeting you. Merasa, thank you for being with us.
Hey, Rich, try to get to the close as you can to the mic so we can hear you in VR.
Okay,
I don't have a question,
it's all right.
but I enjoyed the presentation.
Okay, so Rich is saying that he doesn't have a question, but he enjoyed the presentation.
Okay.
So thank you. Thanks
Thank you,
to him
Rich.
for being.
That's great. Anybody in the room would like to ask a topic? Speakers can ask questions to each other. I have a couple questions, but I was going to wait mine to the end to give everybody a chance to speak if they should want or need.
So listening to all these projects, I was thinking there's a lot of room for collaboration, and
Yes.
I would love to hear more about what. So it was my first time hearing about the work that Amany has been doing. So definitely I'm interested in everyone's work here, but I've heard a little more about maybe Yukie's work, and I've worked with Nick myself, but all that Amany was talking about was very interesting and new to me. So I feel like the use of AI, chatbots, and these newer technologies with immersive environments can create a lot of potential in the future. There is already maybe, some of these initiatives.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to collaborate and
Sure.
May I speak?
So
Yes,
let
Rob,
me,
go ahead. You got a little echo there. Maybe you're close to the mic in the room if you want to talk.
Avatar.
Avatar. I'm going to be speaking through Mirasa.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for your very interesting presentations.
I don't know if that- okay.
You can hear me now. I could see like that one of the common themes that I've seen from your presentations would be collaborations among students from different institutions, right, through the metaverse or through VR. And I was wondering if you guys are familiar with COIL, Collaborative Online International Learning. I was thinking maybe we can this group can like form a project, do a project together on COIL in the metaverse, because I'm not really sure if there are a lot of people doing it right now. And we can be like...
Yeah, can I give a comment about it?
Oh, yes, sure.
Yes, so thank you very much for the great comment. I think actually, I have been kind of trying to do like a telecollaboration with other like universities in the US, and I think we have been the kind of first step, and I would like to expand it to like a COIL project using virtual reality. Yeah, definitely there's a possibility, and as I mentioned, I think there haven't many like studies where like they have been kind of exploring the possibility of COIL in VR. So definitely if you are interested in that, please let me know. よろしくお願いします。はい、よろしくお願いします。
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes,
Like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're Bobby and I have been trying to work out a couple of things around COIL too. He's been doing some COIL stuff with his courses in the Philippines, and we're trying to incorporate these new labs that we're building to see if we can utilize more immersive technologies in the COIL process. So that's an exciting frontier, I think, especially moving forward, because the COIL research, the need for it, the demand for it is going up since the pandemic hit, and even still strong after the pandemic is starting to teeter out.
Yeah, the biggest challenge for me is bringing COIL to elementary schools. That's many schools are still pretty new to the concept. So what I've been doing is basically doing some trial runs to see if things work. And I'm not really focusing on language acquisition. I'm trying to get teachers to use this technology also for other subjects as well.
This is a common thread, I think, as well too. Even not just public schools, but universities as well. Getting buy-in from administration to budget, decision makers to faculty members using it more. These are all struggles, I think, not just with immersive technology, but technology in general, probably. But yeah.
Eric, this is Rich Lee. I'm the sole person in the physical room. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, what do you think the cause of that pushback is?
Well, I think broadly speaking, one of the big things is just change, right? Being able to, onboard yourself to a new way of doing things. Many times, if you're going to be using immersive technology or even in distance learning, you need to rethink some of the approaches you do. If you're, for example, teaching in the classroom, or you have a specific way of presenting information, you kind of have to revisit a lot of the things that you're doing, which means you need a little extra effort, you need a little extra training, you need a little extra onboarding onto these platforms and using them. And so all of those things, together kind of create a little bit of, learning curve, a little bit of a walled garden in approaches in your pedagogy as a teacher. So those are just some things that I think normal for most teachers.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think given that, I think just even moving into online learning management systems was there was a lot of problems related to that, and just overall getting used to all the new tech, then going to VR was maybe a big step. I'm really interested in what everyone presented about today, and wanted to thank all of you for your presentations.
Thank you.
My school is moving towards VR. They've created a Metaverse version of their school, and they're asking me to help set up classes and courses and international study abroad program with the university in America. And so I will be following what you guys are doing from now on. I know very little about all of this, but yeah, I just wanted to express my appreciation.
Maybe I didn't explain it, but this room, this VR room that we're in right now, is actually a digital twin of a lecture hall on our physical campus at the Kyoto University of Foreign Studies. And so we took that, this is an actual, it's almost meter for meter, chair by chair replication of that actual physical space. And so we're going to be experimenting with mixed reality. So having people actually physically in the room and then a digital twin of it in virtual space, and seeing how we can, integrate and get collaboration between virtual and physical spaces.
Right. That sounds fantastic. I'm wondering, and this is a question for maybe everyone, because I think what the focus of everything has been on was pedagogy and possibly, how to implement this from a teacher's perspective. How are the students reacting to VR? I know that Saito Sensei said Saito Sensei said. Saito Sensei, sorry.
Saito Sensei.
Sorry. Saito Sensei. I'm sorry. Because there are many people on. I heard you say that the students had a positive experience. You didn't see that represented in their TOEIC scores, the pre and post.
In the last project, so I think it's just they took like only 3 virtual reality lessons. That's why, and so they didn't take like a post speaking test immediately after 3 VR lessons. So I think I couldn't evaluate it well. So in the coming project, I will implement another post-speaking test immediately after VR English lesson. At the same time, to increase the number of virtual reality lessons. And however, I didn't include some negative kind of comments from the student, but I have to say that many students got sick because of a head-mount display. They felt kind of like a motion sickness, and some students say that the head-mount displays were too heavy to carry for a long time, and as you know, head-mount displays are still expensive. So there are something which needs to be overcome, but still I can see more possibilities of integrating virtual reality into education and into English educations. And at the same time, so we don't have to kind of, so buying a head-mounted display is very expensive, but so student can start virtual reality using their own PCs, like we are doing today. So letting them experience virtual reality in their own PC might be the first step.
Oh, well, thank you. You answered my next question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's I say this often with this question, right? It's novel approach, and using these kind of technologies for many years now. I mean, it's really comes down still to the content from which you're conveying through virtual and augmented reality. If it's novel in the fact that it's a new way to kind of experience media, but if the media or the contents aren't interesting, that novelty wears off very quickly. So it's not a shortcut for developing good, engaging content.
Okay, if I may, I have another question. One thing that piqued my interest was the funding that you got, or the support that you got from Immersive and Meta, because we also want to kind of propose some projects in the future. Would you have some tips for us on how to kind of propose those projects for funding or for support? from those companies?
I think so. I think they have been focusing on like a language education. So like and I think it's better to include some kind of games in speaking or in listening. So I think they want to kind of include like the kind of result, objective result in terms of speaking games or like a vocabulary acquisition. If you can include like a proposal where you can investigate just like a speaking games or like a vocabulary acquisition, yeah, I think they will consider it, I guess.
Thank you,
Learning
Sensei.
outcomes.
Yeah, this is a follow-up question. Were they the ones who approached you to propose, or was there a website that you visited and submitted your proposal?
Actually, so I think I was the first one, the second one who started using Immersive. I have been using Immersive for 2 or 3 years already. And so I think they wanted to support me because so it was not so kind of well-known yet. And they wanted to kind of establish so their products or their services. That's why they I mean, so yes, I was not the one who asked for support.
Immerse actually,
Immerse.
they targeted Japan as one of their places that they really wanted
Yeah.
to focus on when they started getting going, I think 4 or 5 years ago. And so they reached out to several people around Japan in higher education. I was actually reached out to by the Immerse people, but I didn't really follow up. And Immerse, I think they just started a whole kind of group of teachers that are kind of actively curating proposals for the company. So they actually have a few teachers now, a group of researchers. I think Yukie might be part of that group.
Yes, kind of. Yes, I have known like researchers there, and yeah, they know a lot about second language acquisition, and I think they are like experts in terms of research. So I think well-designed, they welcome like a well-designed research, I guess.
And I think another MAVR that everyone might know, Ewan Bonner, is also on that group for Immerse, I think.
Right,
Yes.
right. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think, and they are planning to kind of expand its service to teaching Japanese or French and maybe another language. So maybe if you can kind of make a proposal to, kind of to teach other languages such as Japanese or like a French, I think maybe they will consider it. Because now I think there are lots of researchers who are like doing research so in terms of like teaching English. So if you are interested in teaching another language, it might be a kind of you can write a better kind of proposal, I guess.
This was one of the themes that was proposals. I think that research group for Immerse would be very good too. Meta and Reality Labs sent out a couple of calls for proposals last year, but I think in general their focus on education isn't completely the best. I don't know. It's just my opinion, but it's harder to get a hold of people in Meta. So we're all impressed that you got some contacts with Meta Japan as well. If I could. That was the theme actually. While on the same tangential thing, Nick actually brought this up as well because in his presentation he talked about trying to get conversations going with platform providers to give them feedback to better have their products kind of catered to educational context, right? And so, what does the conversations look like? Because I'm actually developing a few myself and trying to develop them specifically for education. There's a lot of kind of butting heads with trying to make them sustainable with business models. So like one big business model for right now is, collecting as much information as possible, and then trying to exploit that data for profit in the future, which doesn't really work too well, especially in public schools. So what does that conversation look like?
I had the opportunity of talking directly to some members behind GatherTown as part of a beta project, and
so sorry to jump in, but our time for using this room is over. So if
Okay.
it's okay, you can keep talking in VR, of course, but I
Actually,
have to
yeah.
connect the projector and
Actually, this is
leave
probably
this
a good time. I'm going to cut down the live stream as well. So, sorry to cut you off, Nick. We can keep talking, but just
yeah,
give me
this is
one minute to
perfect
close.
opportunity to have a different chat about it.
Right. I'm gonna.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. So,
Oh.
okay, thank you very much
Okay.
for this wonderful opportunity.
All right.
All right.
And
I'm gonna.
people on Zoom, okay, it's only me.
You
so
two,
that's all
everybody
right.
out there watching on YouTube, watching on the net, I'm going to close down the feed right now. Thanks for watching this
Thank you very
presentation
much.
on the MAVR Learning Forum. Please come to mavr.site to revisit all of the materials that you saw today as far as slides and speaker bios and profiles, and follow along on hashtag MAVR on your favorite social media platform for
sorry, I
posts and
can't
discussions around this as well. All right, guys, we can stay in VR and chat for longer. That's it for now. All right, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Very good. Well done.